You spoke about the professional players representing at the FIBA. We have been asked for certain suggestions how we can get these players to make them as professional basketball players in Sri Lanka. What type of things would you list down?
My biggest suggestion, Martin, is have a plan it's like this plan should not change just because the administration changes, right? Whatever the administrators or the parties involved or the stakeholders in this industry in basketball needs to come together and say this is the plan. At least the administrators need to come and say this is our plan, right? I mean, it'll be the same for a government, right? People expect a government to have a common policy that no matter what the government is, that policy is being carried forward. So likewise in basketball, the administration should have a plan, 5 years, 6 years, 7 years, whatever it is, and then they need to just strictly focus on that to reach that goal. And let's say tomorrow it's a new basketball administration. In 2 years' time, 3 years' time, it's the new administration. But there has to be a blueprint saying this is our goal, this is our pathway, right? I don't know how many years it's been since the Basketball Federation has been formed. We still don't have a basketball court for the national players, right? Isn't that should be like a number one priority? An indoor basketball facility for the national basketball players. That means on season, the national basketball players can practice morning, noon, and night, or whatever their practice plan is. And off season, those national basketball players or the pool have access to come and put in extra work. If not, a player like me, right, needs to book a basketball court on my own funds and put on my work. So I think it needs to, the administration needs to have a plan for everything, for infrastructure, for player development, in developing a career. What is their plan when they recognize a real good talent coming out of the school sector? You get the under-19 basketball tournament, you see two players that's really good. Do you have a plan for them? Do you have a Sri Lanka schools pool? Do you have a Sri Lanka youth pool that continuously practice? Do you have a Sri Lanka A team or a national team or a pool that continuously practice? We don't. We don't have anything as such. So my suggestion is whatever the strategic plan, come up with the strategic plan first for the administration, for basketball in Sri Lanka, for the players in Sri Lanka, and put it into action. For how many years, put it into action and keep it as the blueprint so whoever comes into the office can carry forward it.
I guess you would focus on individual skill level in terms of improving that aspect during your off season, and during the season I guess you would work as a team to get yourself upgraded to that particular level. But at this point of time, based on what you said, it is more of like a hobby. You know, you do it for a certain time period of time, and during the off season you're out of touch with the game. What is the time period that you have your season?
In Sri Lanka? We don't have a season, Martin. Believe me when I say I came down from US in 2018. Since 2018 to today, I've played only, I know I need to check my facts, but one senior national basketball tournament. Ever since then, I haven't played a single club tournament. I did play 2 mercantile tournaments, and that's about it. And the mercantile tournament, I represent Fairfax. The second tournament, we couldn't finish it because of Corona, and that's when the Corona started. But the first tournament was a success. We finished that. We did play 1 senior national tournament. I played for the mercantile team. That was a success. But other than that, that's all what we've had so far. I would say less than 20 games. Ever since 2018 to now, play less than 20 games. And imagine representing the national basketball team as a national player, go abroad and play countries like India or Palestine or Bahrain or all these Asian giants as we speak the national teams abroad, and good luck for those boys who's representing our country and playing this third window of the Asian qualifiers, they have played less than 20 games in Sri Lanka locally for how many years? Since 2018, right? And they go against professional basketball players whose job is playing basketball, who plays for their national team professionally, who plays overseas leagues, Middle East leagues, leagues inside their countries professionally throughout the year. And they're the people who focus on their off seasons for recovery and skill training and other stuff, whereas their on season they work on whatever the team that they're playing for during their season. And we have us. I mean, Martin, I'm not expecting things to turn up like that in one day, but what is the plan we have to reach there? I mean, since 2018, whatever the reasons, whatever, since 2018, this is the state of basketball that we have. Play less than not even 20 games, I can guarantee that.
Basketball players in Sri Lanka are not professionals, and let's understand the financial aspect of it. How much of money would they get, when they play tournaments in Sri Lanka? And is it sustainable for them to consider basketball as one of the primary source of income for them and then move forward?
Martin, I'm thinking about your question, and I can't seem to find any basketball tournaments that they really get paid. We play in the club sector. I cannot mention any clubs that would make any payments, rather a contract for any basketball players. Obviously, the national team don't offer any contracts or any financial help for any sort of any basketball players. However, I do have to mention that when I was in US, the Basketball Federation got me down through the sports ministry for one of the South Asian games. As much as I talk all the negative aspect personally what I've gone through, right? And I thought that was a great move. At least a move that would kind of motivate somebody out there. Okay, they're keen enough to bring somebody down, flying down to play a national tournament or represent the national team. But other than that, the mercantile sector, some mercantile firms do offer contracts, just like all the other sports. There are, including myself, there are basketball players who are assigned to mercantile firms who's on contract basis. That is one, and the other one is the forces. Army, Navy, Air Force, Police offer contracts to any basketball player who would love to play for their team. Other than those two, there is no tournament, no club, no national team has any sorts of financial payment for any basketball players in Sri Lanka. 2019
was a silver lining in terms of Sri Lanka basketball. You won the first time in our history, we won the silver medal at the South Asian Games in 2019. How was that experience? Can you recall memories of that particular occasion?
Martin, it was such a collective effort. And when I say collective effort, I'm going to give some credit to the federation too, because end of the day, without their existence, nothing would have been possible. As much as they say you didn't do this, you didn't do that, end of the day, they were the existing federation, right? Making sure I give some credit to them. The actual credit goes to the boys, the coaching staff, to the trainers. We work so hard amidst these ups and downs, because Martin, it's disheartening that we were in investigations, giving statements and this and that, while we could have used that time to train too. I remember I was sometimes in the morning, I'm in the ministry, sometimes in the evening, I'm in the ministry, sometimes I'm fighting for this, that, the basketball, or we don't have a place to train or whatever. With all these ups and downs, our actual goal in the day was to win a silver medal. Our goal was to go and do our best, see if we can give our best against India, but a silver medal was something that we've never done before. It was back in 1993, if I'm not mistaken, we won a bronze. So we want to, create history and win the silver medal. And we did it, and we went there. I remember the very first game we played again, Bhutan. It was so cold, and it was such a close game because Bhutan wasn't even, close to our standards, and it was kind of scary in the beginning. The youngsters stepped up, the newcomers stepped up in that game, and we all, just went at one game at a time. The credit goes to our seniors, our two coaches, Coach Susil and Coach Randra, and our trainer, Coach Duminder, who was a big part of it, who was a huge part of it, and our seniors, Randima, Isuru, Roshan, our former captain, for guiding the team, because they keep the boys together during these drifts, right? So it's such a collective effort, and really should say the best ever tournament we had as a national team, and the boys will cherish this forever, Martin, because we're not gonna know when are we gonna be able to do that again. Hoping for the next SAG, obviously, but that's the biggest height we've achieved as Sri Lanka Basketball.
At this point of time, based on your understanding and based on what you have looked at, who are the best basketball players in Sri Lanka?
The best basketball players in Sri Lanka? Trick question, I would say, because when I say names, I wouldn't want anybody to think that I'm thinking otherwise of the others. But if you look at the current basketball team, so I'll look into the current national basketball team and I pick from that. I think our basketball captain, Clinton Stillon, is probably the most experienced out of the lot. He's a very good shooter. His game sense on point. I would actually pick the captain himself as the best basketball player in the team. His brother's playing. Brent is playing in the team as well. Again, a young star who's got so much potential. But experience-wise, he's still got to catch up for a little bit. But I think my pick from the current basketball team is going to be Clinton, our captain.
On an individual perspective, you are one of the greatest players that Sri Lanka has ever produced in terms of basketball as a game. However, at this point of time, you are seated here doing an interview with me rather than playing in the qualifiers. What is the reason for you to not being there?
Martin, I had a very bad experience with the administration in our last South Asian Games. Long story short, we were pulled up for the South Asian Games in 2019 to play in Kathmandu. Our goal was to win a silver medal. We started basketball training. 3 months into training, we came across with the sports ministry and realized certain amount of funds were given to the federation for our nutrition, certain amount of funds were given, and when I say certain amounts of funds, quite a bit of funds, at least for a basketball team who doesn't get anything, right? In a year after year, in a daily basis, where there's no financial value because the federation doesn't have funds, right? Their number one reason is the federation doesn't have funds. Given that situation, any amount of funds that we get is big for us. Was given funds for nutrition and accessories like equipment. Martin, 3 months into that training program, we realized these funds were given, and we had no idea that these funds were given for us to the federation. We realized how much, how much we didn't get, right? As funds, we've got, like for food, we got milk packets and fish buns after practices, and to realize that they could have done so much more. We didn't have practices every single day, whereas the funds were for every single day, and there's so much more. Like even if you look into the funds they've got for equipments, we had used basketballs in the beginning of the training program. Towards the last few weeks, they got new basketballs and this and that because it was a whole problem and investigations and all that stuff. Even as we speak right now, these investigations are going on. I mean, I honestly, Martin, at this point don't know the status of this whole thing. We approached the former administration, the sports we never got a chance to talk to the sports minister, but we went to the administration and we spoke and we went into investigations, we gave statements, nothing came out of it. When the new administration came up, we personally went and met the Honorable Minister and put our problems and our so-called situation and allegations against the Federation forward, and the problem went into the FCID. We went into FCID personally. I'm pretty sure everybody was called in. We were given statements, and at this point, I don't know the status, but from last week's papers, I saw that the investigations are nearly over, or already finished, and they've gone to the courts, and the courts are expecting a final report from the FCID. The reason why I'm here, Martin, the answer is, I, as a protest, took a action, and I stepped down saying, what I demand is something needs to happen. A discipline action against these officials who should be held responsible, or as simple as give us what we deserve, or what we should have got, right? I mean, Martin, how discouraging is it when I say that we reached our goal of winning a silver medal for the first time in the history. We came back to the airport and there wasn't a single Basketball Federation official to welcome us, simply because of our problems, right? It was just our family, our parents. There were a few officials from the sports ministry to welcome us. I mean, winning a silver medal for the first time in the history. Tell me, if you were in the Basketball Federation as the president, as the secretary, as whoever, would you be proud of us? Right? Would you be there personally to say, hey, good job, to motivate us? Right? Forget about the big topics we spoke about, infrastructure, this, that. What is the personal motivation, or what is the guidance or the motivation or the encouragement you giving us as an administrator for us to keep our good work going forward? Yes, we spoke up, and we have to speak up, because this cannot be happening, right? Every time some administrators do whatever with the funds and we don't know what they did with the funds, I don't know what happens with the investigation. I'm eagerly waiting to see the outcome of this whole thing, if there's an outcome. I'm just waiting and watching, you know. Yes, I miss representing the country, you know. That's the greatest thing that you can do, and everybody should do it, you know. But I know I got a certain amount of backlash from my own people saying, you know, the country has to come forward and you got to forget everything and do it. And my thing is, I'm doing it for that exact reason. I'm going to talk about it, regardless whoever's in my side or not, regardless of what I'm going to lose, because somebody has to speak up, right? And my next approach is, okay, if you all want me to, because even for this current national tour, the current manager, who's a very professional person, you know, did his absolute best to approaching me and getting me back into the national team to play. The national selectors, the national coaches, they all approached me, except for the Basketball Federation officials. Everybody approached me personally and said, can you know, come and just play back? And after saying so much of the same scenario of my stance and why I've done what I've done, I've given them an proposal. I said, you know what? When I say I and when I say we, I represent the whole basketball players. We stop whatever we do, or the basketball players do an 8 to 5 job. They work in their banks, mercantile firms, does all that, and they come at night or early morning, play basketball, train for the national team. When they have to go abroad, they put duty leaves and all that other stuff. They sacrifice everything and they represent the national team, right? I've done it. I did it ever since I made it to the national team. Everybody else do it. People do it as we speak. I said, I'll come and play, but give me a contract. I said, give me some type of value. Now it's your turn. The basketball officials have to do something to prove themselves that they're in these seats for the right reasons, right? As simple as that. I've done it for so many years. You tell me, okay, Praneeth, we value you, we value your service, we want you to be motivated. Here's a contract. How are you going to do it? I don't know. Go find a sponsor, talk to people, talk to firms, do whatever. Do your job. You're there to take this game forward, improve the sport, give value to us, give value to the. Forget about me. All right, if you don't like me and if you don't want to do that with me, that's fine. Do it for the current basketball players, do it for the existing basketball national players, do it to the current, start with the current basketball captain, give him some value, right? You do that, I see, okay, you guys are trying. Because all this time we did it, we are like, okay, y'all don't have funds. We love playing for the country. We want to do it. It's an honor. We kept on doing it until when we have funds, you want to just use it the way you want it and not on us or however the way you prefer. Or I don't know what you used it for, right? So my stance is this. Something has to happen. Enough is enough. If not, you get up from your chairs, go do something extra, go that extra mile, give us some value, bring us some type of financial value that will be motivated enough to. And personally, my stance is that, and I'll come back play for the national team.
Talking about future aspirations and future goals, when can we see Praneeth Udumalagala to wear the Sri Lanka jersey in the future? And talk to me about what are you planning on doing in the future?
Like I said, I've set myself clear. The Basketball Federation hasn't directly approached me in any way, but through the coaches, through the national selectors, and with the current basketball manager who managed the team, they've approached me and I've made myself clear. And I'm pretty sure the Basketball Federation is getting the message. In that particular message, Martin, maybe one of the mistakes that I myself is doing is not having a one-on-one discussion with the Basketball Federation. I think that's a mistake that I'm doing too. But certainly the Basketball Federation don't want to do that with me either, because they've given me no such approach or haven't approached me in any way. But making myself clear, something has to happen for this investigation, or I'm waiting to see the outcome of the investigation. Either something went wrong or they're right, they haven't done anything wrong. If that's the case, my fight, if you ask me if my fight is over, I really don't think, because I know we didn't get anything. If not, I'm definitely will be back in the national team if I think the value we deserve is given, or they've started somewhere to give that value. Like I said, it doesn't have to be like that, boom, everything's good. And you cannot do that, I get it. If I see our administration is doing their best to give us the rightful place as basketball players, or they're doing their 100% to give us that value, or to better this sport, better the basketball players, I'm back in the national team. My problem is, no, they're in the wrong reasons. So if for the next national tournament they come up with a proposal or a contract for me and saying, because Martin, if they come up with a contract for me, I don't think the rest of the basketball players are just going to wonder, right? Either they're going to work hard to be in a particular level so that they can demand too. Indirectly, the basketball standards will go high, because the players now will be like, okay, Praneeth is doing this and he is doing that, and what are we doing, right? Because end of the day, you have to have a level of your own to be able to demand something, right? How am I going to say all this, Martin, and when I get the basketball in the very next tournament, or you guys organize a tournament and we all play and you see me doing absolutely nothing, right? Nothing close to the national standards or the international standards, because I individually invest on myself so much. I have the confidence to say it. And because the national coach, the selectors, the manager see me and accepts me as who I am, is coming to me and saying, Praneeth, please play. If they come to me, approach to me with a contract saying, you know what, this is the contract, this is from this time to this time we're going to practice, or they come up with a plan that I think, okay, these guys are serious about doing something good and actually uplift our standards, give us more value as national players, I'm definitely going to be back in the national team. If not, Mari, I'm going to continuously fight, and I don't know how much of an effective fight it will be, but I'm going to do my best from where I am. And meanwhile, I'll focus my career into keeping it local, and like I said, any overseas opportunities, I'll continue to play, and I'll focus on my program and play local basketball here.
So you're a part of, you are running Impact, that's your organization that you have been currently engaged. Can you briefly explain what does this particular organization do?
Yes, Martin. Impact Hoop Lab is a basketball skill training program that I started when I came down from Texas after my college experience. Impact Hoop Lab focuses on purely raw basketball skills. I'm trying to differentiate between coaching and training. Basketball coaching will be coaching a team, getting your offensive strategies, defensive strategies, your rotations, your getting to know your players, managing the players, and so on. Whereas training will be me individually focusing on your raw skill, your footwork, your coordination, your ball handling, your game IQ, and all that. So I started this when I understood the gap that you asked me when I was in US, where I personally went and realized I'm so behind. I only wished I had this knowledge or these things being done when I was here. So my whole aim was, I'm going to come and have my platform where anybody can come in and then get this information. And this is not a program, it's a program where you can continuously get our service, or even for, let's say, a national player or a club level player can come in, get a good workout, focus on certain things, and go work on his own, and I'll see that player in a month, 2 months, or 3 months. Or a national player who just want to casually get good sessions in. He can come in, get a good session in, focus on footwork, focus on coordination for a little bit, get a solid session and go out. So this program caters for kids all the way down to being beginners to all the way to national players who wants to focus on their game in an advanced level, but purely on skill. So that's what my program actually caters.
Thank you very much, Praneeth, for accepting my invitation to feature on the show. I hope that all the disputes that we have in the basketball arena are resolved in the future and get our sport to the next level in the future. One more time, thank you very much.
Thank you, Martin. Thank you so much, and for your organization for having me. Thank you.